Obviously start working together. Let's fast forward a bit to this record. Can you take me to the process of writing a song? Because if I read it correctly, it's quite a collaborative effort.
Yeah, right. Well, so I fly down to LA and we go into the studio. He's got a small studio in Eagle Rock, and we just grab an interest. Somebody will get on a piano or something or a keyboard, or I'll pick up an acoustic guitar. We'll just start trying to figure something out, like really starting from zero. And so once we have some arrangement of chords or a sound that we like, I'll begin trying to think of melodies, like what could be something that could be sung over this, and then I'll start doing that. As soon as I figure I have like kind of a cool idea, I'll record it, and then we just have that up. Now you can listen to it looped, and you can hear that, and now try and imagine where does it go from here. So it's a very modern sort of way of doing things. It's sort of like collage,
Okay.
And that's how it develops, and it doesn't take long.
But it isn't like emailing back and forth. You
No.
do get together.
We don't do that. I guess we could, but it's just I don't know. I don't know if we would get as much done,
Well, because I would imagine with the both of you being as busy as you are, is it then difficult to find the time to work together?
Well, you just, when my touring for the Shins is over or whatever, then I have a lot of free time. And Brian kind of prioritizes the Broken Bells stuff, so he'll basically, when he's done with a project, if he has the choice to either book another production gig or do a Broken Bells record. And so once we've decided, then we can free up our schedules pretty quickly.
Okay. Well, the record is called After the Disco.
Yeah.
When in the writing process of this album did the title come up?
It came up pretty early because that song was one of the first ones that we finished. And it had this line. From the get-go, I said something that sounded like After the Disco while I was riffing, trying to come up with melodies and stuff. And Brian and I both wrote it down separately, like we both liked that phrase or whatever. So yeah, it was fairly early on that we knew it was going to be called After the Disco.
And as you said, it was one of the first songs that you finished.
Mm-hmm.
So is it fair to say then that it kind of functioned as a centerpiece on the album?
Yeah, that is fair to say. Yeah, it was kind of, it became sort of a theme, I guess, lyrically and stuff.
Well, what is this theme then for you?
I guess the theme is, we were talking a lot about just sort of being realistic, and I think both of us consider ourselves realists. So maybe that's what After the Disco means, is kind of, after your fantasy of maybe youth and so on, you have to face reality, and there's something sort of sad and nostalgic about that, I guess.
Well, you mentioned sad and nostalgia. When I listened to the record, there was a sense of definite nostalgia, especially when, in terms of the music, it was quite upbeat and up-tempo, but then the lyrics could be quite dark at times.
Yeah, right.
So how was it to find the balance between the
I mean, I think that's how we achieve balance in a way. I especially wanted the record to be a little bit more up-tempo this time and accessible and sort of danceable. And so I think to counter that, the lyrics got maybe even more sad and melancholy.
But this idea or this notion of after the disco, after your dreams have well, not fallen through, but after you realize...
Just after you, it's like growing up, It's, there's a certain aspect of growing up that's kind of sad, but, not believing in fairy tales anymore, I guess,
But in a sense, you are a rock star. Is it something you've encountered yourself?
Having to face reality, I guess.
I've
probably managed to avoid most of reality. You're right, but yeah, I've got children and a wife and a family, and so I think that has helped me to grow up in a way.
Get you grounded in a sense.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very much more grounded now than I was before I had my family, you know?
Okay.
And things matter to me more now than that, you know, things used to be so abstract, you know.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah, like when you hear in the news about something happening in a war, you know, it's, I think for me it feels much more real now than it used to. You know, I really realize that those are children, somebody's children are there, you know, and it changes things, I think, in that way.
And well, thematically, I think it's also quite a lot about relationships. If I'm not sure if that's correct, but
oh yeah.
So how do you see this? Because you've been married.
Because I'm married and have kids. Well, so a lot of that stuff is Brian comes up with a theme of a song that he'd like to write about, you know. So I then am there helping him to express that, you know. So he's got, because he's the one who has relationships, you know. So yeah, which is, I mean, I spent a lot of time writing those types of songs, though, you know, where you have certain resentments and regrets about, you know, girls and so on. So I'm pretty adept at writing in that mode.
But so in terms of the lyrics, it's again very much a collaborative thing where,
totally, yeah.
you talk
Right.
about what the theme will be.
Yeah, yeah, we just, you know, I mean, really it starts out just trying to get something on the page.
Okay.
And then it's kind of, Brian's quite good at actually, you know, shifting things so that it starts to be more cohesive, and then you come up with a, you know, what's the real concept here, and then, you know, so it's great. It's good having him to work with.
But so these themes then they weren't fixed at the start. It wasn't like a good idea beforehand.
No, yeah, we're just kind of, you kind of just interpret what the song is expressing, I guess, musically.
So have you discovered, because of the songs being the way they are, have you discovered something about yourself?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it's hard to say. They'd be pretty subtle things, I guess. But I think you do. You kind of learn about yourself when you're writing songs, and maybe making art in general. Yeah, so it is kind of a good process.
Well, when you're working for the Shins now, do you notice that some traces of what you do for Broken Bells linger?
Yes, I mean, maybe it's, you know, Brian has a very good sort of working attitude and stuff, you know. It's like he doesn't, you know, worry too much about trifling details. It's like, you know, we got to get stuff done. You got to keep moving forward. Maybe that's just a producer. That's what producers do. But it's helped me a lot, I think, working with him. I think I learned how to sing a lot better working with Brian, because he doesn't like to use the auto-tune stuff. So you have to sing it a bunch of times until you get it right. And I think that makes you very much more conscious about your voice and melody and really getting the right tone and everything.
Okay, I'm almost out of time, but you mentioned being a producer, and then I assume Brian, or did you do it together again?
We sort of produced together. Brian's definitely the producer. It's his studio, and he's the one who makes sure we're organized and what needs to be done next and all that stuff. But I definitely give a lot of my ideas. I don't hold back or anything.
Well, one question I often ask producers is, because of all the intricacies and all the little things you can change, is it difficult to know when a song is finished?
It can be. It can be. I'm the one who keeps coming up with more ideas after we've settled that it's done. I think I drive Brian nuts sometimes with that. But you know, I think at some point you've exhausted your ideas, and that's when you know there's nothing left. And we have great help too, though, in Kenny Takahashi, who helps us. He's the guy who mixes and he engineers everything, and he is a help. He's a third sort of mind thinking about that stuff too.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.